Today, climate change is a major problem not only for the United States of America, but for the world as a whole. Still to this day, some do not recognize climate change as real, and some choose just to ignore it. From the glaciers melting in Antarctica to wildfires in California, the problems in our climate today cannot go unseen and must be attended to immediately. In a report by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2018 that included a 26-nation survey, it was concluded that climate change affects different nations all over the world, and that some identify it as our number one problem. According to the report, many countries, including Canada, Great Britain, Australia, Brazil, and many more, take this problem seriously and see what it can do to the world we all live in. All over the world, there are organizations committed in their fight to stop climate change. These programs vary from federally funded programs all the way to nonprofits in local communities. Some of these federal programs include the United States Environmental Agency, the Department of Agriculture, and the Department of Energy.
And what these reports are telling us, that if the temperature of the planet continues to rise, it is going to be very hard for farmers in this country and other countries to grow the corn and the soybeans that they now do.
Over the past few decades, the temperature of the climate has increased dramatically, causing alarm for some that this problem is only beginning. It is truly a problem for everybody in this world, and it takes the strength and resilience of many to fix it. One protester that I spoke with was Cindy Gibbons, formerly of Weymouth, Massachusetts. As a result of a compressor station being built, she made the decision to move to the neighboring town of Norwell for the health and safety of her family.
I did a lot of research and a lot of protests with an organization called FRAX and a lot of my friends, and it came down to, if this compression station went in, I did not feel comfortable with the more information that I gathered and I found out, the more I could see that the people would be sitting ducks, and I didn't want to expose my children to over 200 unregulated chemicals.
A compressor station is a facility which helps the transportation process of natural gas from one location to another. Compressor stations are very dangerous, as they leak toxic pollutants into the air and cause a safety hazard for those living around it. Also, there is always the possibility of pipe leaks and an explosion of the facility, which would be detrimental to the highly populated area of North Weymouth.
To make communities safer and more livable and begin to confront the crisis of climate change. And I'm here today because climate change is not only a threat to the planet, it is a threat to our health and our well-being.
To understand the law perspective of this problem, I interviewed Representative James Murphy, who controls districts in Hingham and Weymouth. Representative Murphy cares deeply about the environment and spent much of his time this past term trying to pass a climate change bill for the state of Massachusetts.
Climate change is one of the largest threats affecting not only our generation now, but future generations. Often we passed a bill in the House and Senate that would protect the environment. Basically, it would require appliances to have stricter standards in regard to what they give off for carbon footprints. It would reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It would also require the state to look at more offshore wind, to look at renewable energies and to get away from things like gas.
This bill passed the House 145-9 and the Senate 38-2, but Governor Baker still vetoed it. His reason for this action was that the housing construction bill that was just passed could be affected, and that the state was not ready for the bill, especially in the middle of a pandemic. Baker agreed with the goals, but saw a different strategy to achieve them. In similarity with Governor Baker's decision on vetoing the climate change bill, President Trump, in his 4 years in office, has not addressed this growing problem, and in some instances said that it doesn't even exist. To this day, President Trump's opinion on climate change is unclear, and many Democrats have attacked his viewpoint, demanding for change and wanting a better program moving forward.
And we need to accelerate the transition to a clean energy economy and create high-paying jobs, building and installing more solar panels and wind turbines, modernizing our electric grid, retrofitting buildings, building resilient 21st century infrastructure. And we have to make sure no community is left out or left behind.
For my final interview, I spoke with Maureen Murphy, who is an at-risk citizen living in North Weymouth. Maureen is part of the Lions Club of Weymouth, where people in the community come together to try and make their towns and cities better as a whole. Maureen has lived in Weymouth all of her life, and now that the world is getting even more dangerous in regards to the climate and pollutants in the air, she is frightened for what is to come.
The one thing that I have most of all is respiratory disease. And it frightens me to think of opening up my window, and I think it's a beautiful day and the air is blowing in, and all the time they're venting gas out of the compressor station, to keep the pressure down. It's not right. I'm at the point where my grandchildren are there now, and I worry for them.
As the country is coming into a new era, the question must be asked: is the new administration in Washington going to help fight this increasing global problem, or will their promises be empty and cause the country to fall deeper into this hole?